Welcome back. This is the 16th episode in creating a third-person controller. If this is your first time seeing this, check the link in the description for the entire playlist so you can follow along from the beginning. But also, we're looking at creating an animation set from Mixamo, so you can follow that if that's what you're looking for. That's right, guys. We have our camera and our state machine, and it's finally time to add a character with animations to this character controller. Today, I'm going to show you where you can get everything you need, or you can bring your own. That's fine too. Quick reminder before we begin, if you're enjoying the course, hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Want the whole course now? Become a channel member or join my Patreon for immediate access to all episodes. Not into subscriptions? You can buy the full course on Udemy and keep it forever. Check in the description for the links. Let's get started. All right, guys, so we're at that stage now where we can start to look to add a 3D model. Now, I'm going to provide you with a 3D model that comes from Quaternius. It's CC0, so that you can use it in your project if you want. And animations and also instructions on animations and where to get them and what you can do. So you can bring your own if you want, or you can use the stuff I've provided, or you can go and you can follow this video. I've got the model here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to export it as an FBX. The one thing I would point out is that you want your model to have its arms and legs sort of in a T-pose position with its thumbs pointing outwards if you want to use Mixamo. It just works better if you do it that way. So we'll export that as FBX. If you have your own model, you can use that. I got mine from Quaternius. He's a really good CC0 creator. I really suggest you check out his Patreon. He posts a lot of stuff there. That's where I got this from, the Modular Men Pack from 2022. And so I've been able to download that and sort of clean it up a bit so that we can use it in this project. It also has its own animations, but we're not going to be using those. Okay, so back in Mixamo. Mixamo is a 3D animation software that allows you to upload a character, which we're going to do now, and sort of add animations to it. So you want to create an account, set it all up, and once you have the option to upload a character, hit that upload character button and just select your FBX, and it should just load up here. If you have any problems, just try to check out the troubleshooting. It can sometimes be a bit tedious if you haven't set things up properly, but I am no expert, so I'm not going to go into details on how to fix that because I wouldn't know. You should end up with your model being visible here. Click next, and now we'll have the option to place these markers in position. It's got a little diagram on the right hand side for us to follow. So chin, obviously where the chin will be, wrists where the wrist will be. Depending on the model, sometimes it can be a bit difficult to exactly determine, but you can see here with the elbows, I can pretty clearly tell where the join should be based on the vertices in the mesh. Sometimes it's not that difficult. I've had problems in the past, I can tell you that much. Same with the knees and with the groin as well. Now I've got symmetry on. It's that way by default, and it's using the standard skeleton, which is obviously has fingers. So we hit next and it should just do its thing. Shouldn't take too long. It says up to 2 minutes, but I've never seen it take that long. And then once it's loaded up, we'll get a preview of our character here, and we'll be able to confirm that. It should just look like the above, pretty normal stuff. You click next, and it's going to say it's going to replace my old character, but my old character is this one, so it's no problems. So the beauty of Mixamo is it gives you the ability to just choose any character animation here and it will apply it to your model, which is really powerful. So anything that you want, you can put in your game. They're not always the best for game development. This is made with multiple applications in mind. So some of this stuff might be better for CG animation, but definitely we can use some of it for sure. Play around with it, see if you can find something unique. There's a lot of options. So I'm going to grab a pose, just like a T pose, and I'm going to download this, and it will give us an option to download as an FBX with the skin at 30 frames per second. So I'm going to choose with skin. I'm going to download that. And actually what I'm going to do is start a new Blender project. So I'm going to grow new, just general, and as typical, we'll just delete everything in the scene. We don't need it. And what you can do with FBX files, now this is Blender 4.4. This should work from 4.3 onwards. So if you don't have that, if you're working with 4.2, you might need to import the traditional way. But since 4.3, you can just drag and drop these FBXs, which is a real lifesaver, especially for the exercise we're about to put ourselves through. So we just drag that in and hit import. So we just hit import and we've got ourselves our model in T-pose fully rigged up for Mixamo animations, which is going to let us just bring in any animation we want. So what we are going to do is actually just save this as a new blend file. So I'm going to give this one a name. I just call it Spacesuit Animated. We'll just save it as separate, just so that you don't end up losing any of your project or if you've got a model. What you might notice is that the scale of the character is 100 and the armature is scaled down to 0.01. And so what you can do is you can press Control A, which is the apply hotkey, and there's an option to scale to deltas, which converts normal object transforms to delta transforms. So this is a really cool function because it's just going to help us fix this scale, which is going to be really important when we take it to the game engine. And so now that's set to us with a 1:1 scale. And I'm also noticing that there's a rotation. So I'm just going to Control A and set all transforms to delta rather than just scale to delta, because I want to make sure that it's fully zeroed out. And so I'll do that for both the object and the armature. And so we'll have a very nicely positioned character. I've got a list here because of the way the website works. I can't just directly link you these animations, but I can give you the search term, if that makes sense. So I've narrowed it down to like the description, so they should come up. So I've got a list here that I'm going to go through. I'll grab the first one. You won't be able to see it because it's off screen. I'll just paste that in, fast run. I want to tick in place. So some of these animations, you'll see that the character moves and you'll get the option to make it so that it just runs in place, which is what we want because we're going to be moving the character manually. The other thing to look out for is the arm space. So I've seen it in the past where just because of how the rig is, or the character, that the arm space needs to be like set wider or lower. And so that'll just be something that you can cycle through each frame to just make sure that it's not clipping anywhere and it looks right. And generally speaking, once you're happy with how it needs to look, you can sort of apply some of these settings. Not every animation is going to have the option for arm space, but it's definitely worth checking if there's an option, because I've seen it where the arms just clip into the body and stuff. This one looks pretty good. I don't think we need to change anything. So we're pretty much good to go. We can just hit the download button on this, but instead of downloading with the skin this time, we're going to download without skin because we don't need the model more than once. So now I'm going to go through and download every single animation. I won't put you guys through the process of watching me just search these terms and download them. There's a list in the project if you want to follow along. So just go through and download each one individually and then save them in a folder, because we're going to drag and drop them like you just saw over and over again. So we'll get into that and I'll see you back when I've downloaded all of these. Okay, welcome back. So I have downloaded those animations here. I've got the big folder full of them. Hopefully you've organized them in the same kind of way. So now we can start the process of applying these animations to this model. Now, I want to stress that this is something that's not just generally possible. This is because Mixamo and these animations have the same animation data. Because we have Mixamo, we have this fortune of being able to apply these animations very easily. Okay, so we can just simply import the same way that we did before. We can grab this walking animation, for example, and just drag that over and hit import. So you'll see that you've got both armatures sitting in the scene here. Now, we don't need this other one, but we'll leave it here for now just for demonstration purposes. I'm going to click animation and I'm going to go back to object mode. And what we need to do is click the original armature, the one we intend to work with. And we want to go down here to the action editor. Now we'll have both animations. You can see them here. They're kind of a bit hard to understand what they are. So I'm going to rename this first one to T-pose just so we know what it is. Then when we click the other one, now nothing will change here. We can change this to like walking forward maybe. And to get this animation to play on our armature, we just need to choose this other drop-down box here. So if you hover over this, you can see that it says this slot identifies which subset of actions is considered to be for this data block. So you can link it to the armature 01, and now you can see that both our armature and the one that we brought in are both doing this animation. And then you can pretty much delete that. So now we can see that our animation is just playing. And this won't stick. So if I go back to this, we have to select it again. It's not a big deal. When we export it, it will still come through just fine. So it's just that extra little click there. So we just go ahead and import the rest of them. Now it's really up to you how you want to do it. You can go one by one, but I'm going to go wild with it and just select them all, unselect the text file here because I don't need that. I don't need TPS because I brought it in already. So I'm going to grab all of them and just drag it in, import 29 files, import 29 files. And I have to wait a second because that just crunches the computer. You can see I've got a lot of armatures here, but we don't need them. So we're just going to shift select them all. Now, a couple of these I accidentally downloaded with the mesh. So we're going to delete them. You'll see we get some giant meshes. Just delete those too. If you forgot that step, maybe you didn't. And we can just go through and we can start renaming these animations. So in order to see what they are, you have to select this. And you can see that this one is idle with the rifle. So I'm going to call that, idle weapon or idle rifle, for example. So just go through and rename all these animations, and then we'll cover the exporting process after that. Okay, I'll see you there. Okay, so we're back and now we've got all our animations. You can see this one is pistol pose. I've decided to hand animate the shooting animations, but if you don't want to go through that process and you just want to use Mixamo, that's totally fine. I find that their animations are a little bit too slow for my liking, and sometimes the poses don't exactly match what we've downloaded. But you're welcome to download these. So if you just type in Mixamo, type in gunplay, there's a couple here that could work really well depending on how fast you want the rate of fire. This one looks pretty close to the pose that we're in for our rifle, so it might be a good choice. And you can also trim the animation if you want it to be shorter. And there's one, if you scroll a little bit further down, just called shooting, which is a pistol shooting. I'm fairly certain this is quite different from our pistol idle pose, but it could be good. I am hand animating, so you can see I've got this pistol shoot animation. If you want to do the same thing, then all I do is I go to the pose and you can copy the pose. You can just hit this button here that says new action, and it will remain in that pose, but you just want to delete all the frames and then instantly rekey that first frame so that you've got it. 10 frames is good for like a pistol shooting animation, and then I'll just like hand animate these positions. So I'll go around and say manipulate the arm so that it looks like it's shooting something, maybe lower the elbow a bit, and then key those 3 bones in, for example. And then you can see that it goes back to that. And so that's essentially, I'll delete that now. That's essentially what I'm doing with this pistol shoot here. You've got all these actions. It's not going to look as good as a professional animation, and we're going to override some of these positions with IK later on. But it's just something I like to do so that the start and end poses of these match the idle poses, which is really important for cohesive animations. So that's what I'm doing here. Okay, so now we've come to the exporting side of things. So with the changes in 4.4, we've got these things called action slots. Now, if you're exporting as a GLTF, you can just export. You don't have to do anything. You've got your named actions here. You can just go File, Export, GLTF, navigate to your folder here. I've created one in the Assets folder called Character Model. So just under Assets, where we've got the prototype text is Character Model, Space Fit Animated. I've exported that as a GLTF, and that'll work just fine. We'll go back over into Godot just to show you that. We can go to character model, and you can see I've got the GLTF. It's a GLB file. You want to go 3D scene, and we just drop that in. All right. And you can editable children and just make sure that we're seeing all the animations here and that they look right. Okay. Now, if you want to do FBX, which is what I use for the rest of this project, we need to create a nonlinear action set of tracks. We need to create NLA tracks for this in order for it to work. So I'm going to drag this bar up here, click this little clock thing, and go to the nonlinear animations. This used to be something that was required for Godot 4.3. With Godot 4.4, with Godot 4, it's not really, or it wasn't, but with the changes to these slots, when you export an FBX, it doesn't always, it just won't bring the animations through. It will with GLTF. I don't know how long it'll be that way for. It's worth knowing about the nonlinear animation so you can create tracks, and it's a lot more reliable. It's just tedious, that's all. So basically what you want to do is you want to go through all of these tracks. So let's say we've got armed run back. You want to select the slot, and then you want to go to action, push down action, and it's going to create one. And then you just go to the next one. So you have to just keep track, armed run back, right? Make sure you've chosen the slot, make sure the animation's working, and then just go action, push down action. And now if I go to this, you can see it's kind of hard to see because these are just leg related animations. So this is arm back, left, right. So if I star this, it'll play that animation, and then I unstar it, and then it'll play the different animation. So it's just another way of keeping track of animations. But basically, you just have to go through every single one of these and push them down. And so I'm going to do that now. And we'll meet back once we've done that, and we can export it to an FBX and show how that works in Godot 4.4. Okay, and so that's all the actions. Now you just want to go through and make sure that each one, when you star it, actually does something. Otherwise, you might have pushed down the wrong slot. So that is just a check we need to do. Make sure you've got everything. If you've got duplicates, remove them as well. I know it's a lot of tedious activity for this, but sometimes with animations, it's just tedium, you know? Or you could just export using GLTF. But okay, so we've got the NLA. What we want to do is we want to come up to the export and go to FBX. And I've got one there, but we'll export over that. And essentially what you want to come up to here, over in the right-hand corner, you've got animations. You want to untick, normally it'll look like this. You want to untick all actions. You don't want those action slots. They're not going to do anything anyway. You want the NLA strips, since once again, you don't want duplicates, and you want to know exactly, you want to get the right action. So you click export FBX. And then once that's done, you can head back over to the project. I'll just make another one here, and we'll just go as normal. So I'll drag this on, and you can see if I go editable children, you've got all the actions there. So just make sure that they're there and they're playing. And that's the main thing. You've got them and they're working and everything's good. So now that we've got our animation here and it looks pretty good and we're happy with all the animations, we need to do a couple more things to make it work. You'll notice that none of these animations are looping, and there's a little warning here that says this animation belongs to an imported scene, so all changes will not be saved. And it says here that you should go to the advanced settings and enable save to file. And we do need to do that because we're going to want to add things like methods and positions for IK and all these kind of things to these animation tracks. So you want to double click. I should also point out that I've created a folder here. I'll just delete that for the sake of it. So you double click this and you'll see that we've got a list of animations. Now they've got the loop mode here, so you can choose linear or ping pong for the looping mode. So there are a handful of animations that we don't necessarily want looping for. So like the shooting, the reload, and change animation. There's no reason for those to be looping, but a lot of movement ones. So you just need to go through animations and then decide which ones you do want to loop and loop them. Under here, under actions, we've got set animation save path. This will save us a lot of time. So it'll just take us to the character model folder, and we can open that folder and we can just call this animations. And what we want to do is just select current folder. We'll get a big list of all the different animations. We want to save all of them. We don't necessarily need every single one of them, but I just think it's better that way. So if anything comes up that you do want to add to an animation, it's there and you can do it. So we will hit set paths there. So then everything is save to file enabled. So you just need to go through and choose the loop mode for each of these, which is just a matter of clicking each of one of these. So we'll go through that and choose your loop mode for each of these, and we'll meet back. Okay, so once you're done and happy with that, and you've got all your looping animations looping, you can go ahead and hit the re-import button. And once that's done, you'll see that in each of these animations, you can see that this run back is looping now. So that is how you set up your animations for the next step. You will still see this imported scene error. You can just ignore it. You know what it means and you've done the work for it already. All right. And that's that. Next, we can add our model in and start working the camera and adding the animation tree. I'll see you there. Alright guys, that's all for this week. Next week, we're going to link up this character with our animation tree player. If you're finding this series helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to get access to every single episode going forward, you can join as a channel member, or you can become a Patreon member. And if you want to get lifetime access without the monthly fee, then you can always buy the course over at Udemy. Alright guys, I will see you all next time.